Hey everybody, this is Dave Dugdale, learningdslrvideo.com, and today I am psyched to have Blake Whitman, the VP of Creative Development at Vimeo today. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to be here. My
Uh,
first time, but hopefully I'll be invited back
you
after this.
bet. A few weeks ago, I listened to a podcast by Ron Dawson. I think it's called Crossing the 180, and you guys, I think, did it quite a while ago,
We
maybe
did,
a
yes.
year ago. And it was a really good show, and I'll put a link to it in my show notes. But there was a few questions that I wanted to have answered that Ron didn't ask. So
Sure,
I
sure.
wanted to have you on. So I think it's great. And and like I said, I think right now I'm going on maybe 5 years with you guys. I've
Gosh,
been,
wow. I think you might be older than me then, because I started in
yeah. In fact, I can remember the day you started.
January 2007 was my join date, and then I started Vimeo in September of 2007. So
Yeah.
I was an actual user beforehand, and I kind of got hired out of my obsessive use of Vimeo. So dreams can come true, people.
Because I think I remember it was, is it Dallas? Because
Yes, yeah.
he doesn't seem to have as much presence as he did years ago.
Dallas is actually no longer
Oh,
working
well,
with us.
that would be why.
Dallas was an instrumental. He, Dallas was the heart of Vimeo for a very long time,
Yeah.
and will always be in a certain respect. And he was the first community director. He was sort of who envisioned what this community could be and helped build it from the ground up. And we were sorry to see him go, but I have nothing but glorious things to say about that guy. He's an awesome guy.
Yeah. Well, I really like Vimeo, and I also use YouTube because I use both, and
Sure,
I
sure.
think you guys have always been like you've always played to your strengths. HD, super high quality, great community, all this stuff, and YouTube is kind of different. You both have your strengths, but like YouTube, I
Sure,
think has like
absolutely.
awesome stats. You guys have stats, but maybe not as good. And
Sure,
but
sure.
then you've got things that they don't have, like password protected videos, which I think is just awesome. I don't
Yeah.
even know if that's a pro member account type thing, but I'm a
No,
pro member. But
have that. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a feature we've had for almost
yeah,
since the beginning, I think.
yeah. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is I think watching lots of videos on Vimeo gets you inspired. And one of the things you do is you kind of filter through all these videos. I don't know how you do it. And I wanted to ask kind of like how you do it, but how do you
Right.
come up with these picks? Because it seems like you're moderating it most of the time for the staff picks and the HD channel. How do you find these videos?
Well, that's a very good question, and it's evolved quite a bit over time. Back in the day when the community was much smaller, we have going on 9 million members, registered members now. And when
Wow.
I started, we had, I think, around 250,000.
Wow.
And back then, everyone kind of knew each other. And so almost all of the videos that were of a certain quality, you would see in some respects. Your friends would be liking them. They'd come in one way or another, and you would see them. This was back in version 4 of Vimeo, which was a very different style of Vimeo. Vimeo looked completely different. Basically, just had like 3 videos at the top that would refresh every once in a while, and it would be someone else's video. So that was like a very easy way to discover back in the day. But I run the curatorial team right now. I don't spend as much time as I normally do. We have another content and community manager, Sam Morrill, who does a lot of the picking these days, and we're going to start expanding our curation team. But the whole, like you kind of touched on, the whole drive behind our editorial direction, our curation direction, is really to inspire creators, and we're trying to highlight the most innovative, imaginative, creative work that is being produced by regular, normal people out there on the internet, and we're choosing Vimeo to share that stuff. And so, what we do is we subscribe to a lot of people. We have, sort of over the last 4 years, we've really discovered who we think are some of the best and most inspiring directors and animators and motion designers. And so through that and through what they like and what their connections, the way the Vimeo works is this real sort of beautiful organic recommendation system. So within Vimeo, we sort of we subscribe to people, we subscribe to channels and groups, and we just filter through it. We also have a couple little back end mechanisms that allow us to search through everything. But it's not just what's popular; it's what we find interesting
Yeah,
and what
yeah.
we think other people find interesting. And that's a big difference than other sites. It's not just an algorithm; it's people. We're watching this stuff, and
Yeah, which I
we're
think is really
deciding
cool because
on
it seems like every time I go there, it's like I'm blown away. It's like, man, how did these people do it? It's just awesome
right.
stuff. And that
We
kind
feel
of
the same way too. It's amazing.
it kind of leads me into a feature request I have for you guys.
Okay, sure. Hold on. Should I take notes?
No, it's just one simple feature request.
Yeah.
But basically, what happens is I'll like something.
Hmm.
And then, and I'm very, I've noticed over the years that I've become very protective of that. If I'll go back through it sometimes and weed through it and throw stuff out like, oh, I know how to do that now, that particular technique, and I don't need it anymore. And I have
Interesting.
this particular list of videos that are favorites, I think you guys call them.
Right.
It's where the heart comes in, and then
Yeah,
I
we
guess
call them likes.
yeah, likes or
Yeah. I mean, it's actually different for everyone. I love hearing about how different people use likes. I'm intrigued actually.
So what happens is I find a video like that you promoted to one of the HD channels or whatever, and I'm like, there is a really cool editing technique at minute 32 seconds or whatever, and I
Right.
really like what this guy did, and I'm
Right.
like, what I'd love to do is like in your favorites, just add another like a text field. I don't type in
Recommendations or
in your
something.
database. It wouldn't be that hard below it
Right.
that you could just start typing. Like in Flickr, you just start typing and it adds into that particular field. You could do
Right.
something with Ajax or whatever, but all you do is, and I would say something like, love how he edited this particular thing at 32 seconds.
Yeah.
The dirt's flying this way and he's out of focus that way or whatever it was that I
Right.
really liked. And then later on, like a year or so later, because sometimes I'll be like, I can't remember why I liked that video.
Right. Right.
But if I have that note, I can go to 32 seconds.
That's actually, I really like that feature request. That isn't something that we've actually thought about very much, as far as I know. Kind of the way that we've gotten around that in certain respects is through albums, where people create an album that says, you know,
Okay, editing or
my
whatever.
depth
Okay.
of field, videos, or inspiration or whatever. If you you could see how many albums on Vimeo that were labeled inspiration, like it's amazing. It's like thousands and thousands. So people are kind of segregating that data or those videos in certain ways, but I do kind of like the idea of like specifically being able to make a note on that. I guess what you could do is leave a comment in the video saying, "Oh, I loved at this moment how you did this," and then you could kind of reference it. But
But
that's just
how would I find the comment later?
what.
How would I find that comment later?
It depends on how many comments are in that video, but if you see that video and you can just like
Okay.
search for your name. But yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a cool idea. I'll bring it up.
So the next question I have is, this is kind of a stats question. I don't know if you can go into this that much, but do you guys keep track of how well you're doing in terms of your staff picks? And you're like, well, I know this particular page, we normally average, somebody comes here and they spend 2.3 minutes or whatever.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it seems like it dropped to a minute after being at 2.3 minutes per year. Are we picking bad videos? Or do you
You
ever
know,
look at those kind of stats?
we don't.
Okay.
The way that we judge it is based off of likes. So if we're judging something
Okay.
that has a lot of likes, then we know that, obviously we did a good job. But we're also not worried about the videos that don't get a lot of likes because, again, like I said before, we're trying to expose people to a variety of different stuff. If we just always pick what people like,
Yeah,
then that's boring and stale.
that's true.
So we're constantly trying to sort of expand this creative spectrum that we're pointing people towards, because it's really important to just be aware of what's new and what's different. And it may not be a mass appeal, but it may be very inspiring to a certain person who loves that style. So we don't really discriminate in that, but we are constantly making sure that we're keeping things varied. So we're not going to just always feature music videos or always feature short animation, which there are tons of on the site. Sometimes it's harder for us to find, really good live action narrative, for instance. more than say, an animated, short or something. So, we do make sure that it's varied, but we don't analyze it stats wise so much
Okay.
until we like find something that does extremely well, and then we're like, oh, okay, so what happened here? And sometimes we promote different videos with the press. So we'll say, oh, hey guys, you should check out this video. We send it to Gizmodo, be like, hey, because it helps everyone. It helps the creators, it helps us for exposure, and it's cool. So sometimes we do that way, but we don't go back and sort of drill down into the data very often.
Okay, cool. Um, so you came up with this new idea, which I thought was brilliant. Your new music service.
Yeah.
Very, very cool idea. The pricing, I'm not quite sure on. What is it, like a dollar or two for if you do non-commercial, but if it's commercial, it's like
$2 for personal use online, and I believe it's 89 or 90 or $98. I forget actually for
something like that. Yeah.
commercial use
Okay.
online as well, which we wanted to offer both.
Yeah.
And if you're making money from your film or whatever you're doing, then that kind of makes sense. You give a little bit back to the artist and to the suppliers. This isn't a like huge money making venture for us.
Oh,
This is
really?
about providing music for people the right way. And a lot of the value add that we have for Plus and things, we don't really make a lot of money. We're just adding value to this.
Yeah. Okay.
So, if we can help creators in any way make better videos and allow them to discover music that they can either use for free under Creative Commons licenses or through fairly cheap personal use, then that's so much easier than having to scour like different sites. If you can just find it all on Vimeo, that's super easy. So I think the music store this is phase one. We have a lot of really cool plans for it.
Oh, good.
And I think you'll see in the next 6 months to a year it evolving into a much more robust service.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome, awesome idea because there's so many times where I'll be like, I need music,
It's so
especially,
hard.
especially years ago, and you're like, oh, I don't, and I'm one of those people many, many years ago, and I did it. I'll admit it that I'll take something off of my CD collection and put it on, but I don't do that anymore. I haven't done that in years.
Yeah, I
In
mean,
fact, I've gone back and I think I've taken off a lot of that
there you
stuff.
go. We think it's important to train people in understanding copyright law and how that all works, and provide people with music that they can use in the right way. And so that's really important, and we're going to continue to do that and continue to add different partners to Music Store and some other really cool stuff that I can't really talk about right now, but will be pretty exciting in maybe 6 months or so, hopefully.
Okay, good. And I'd like to see, I like to see you guys succeed, and without going too much into the whole money thing. But I always kind of thought that you guys made most of your money off of the pro memberships.
We do. We do.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's not from advertising.
pro memberships and advertising. Those
Okay.
are two revenue, but we're not completely beholden to advertising, which allows us to focus more on other stuff as well.
Okay.
So we're not just, that's why we don't have any in-video advertising. We don't have overlays or post rolls or pre-rolls. And as far as I'm concerned, we're never going to do that because we don't think that it's something we should be able to do to your video or anyone else's video.
Yeah.
Because, for the majority of people in any sort of video rev share situation, the majority of people don't make that much money off of it. So we just find it very distracting and very against our principles of presenting a high quality video to the masses.
And I love it too. I love the cleanness of it, the no ads. And I will say that I use YouTube and I do make some money off of that, but it's not very much.
Right.
But I also, when I need a clean video type thing, I will embed a Vimeo video rather than YouTube.
Yeah,
I just like the experience better and it sits better.
Yeah, everyone has their preferences,
Yeah.
and I totally understand. A lot of people use both. A lot of people only use YouTube. A lot of people only use Vimeo. And I'm not a hater one way or the other. Like we said before, there's different services for different people. But yeah, I mean, we're just trying to focus on providing like the best quality experience possible, and we feel that is best served without putting advertising in videos.
So I didn't ask about your background, but Ron Dawson you did a really nice intro and your background, and you do have you went to film school, and you have a background in filming, basically.
I do, absolutely.
And so I was kind of curious. You watch lots of videos. Do you can you see the difference between now with your eye between a DSLR footage versus like a red footage?
I generally can, but sometimes I definitely get tripped up. I'll have a range of cameras that I think it might be, but I'm not like the most super technical guy in the world. I have to pay attention to so much different stuff that it's hard for me to focus on just like the super technical things. But yeah, I mean, just by virtue of watching, God, 100,000 videos in my lifetime, that you become a professional at recognizing content.
Yeah,
So if I see a video, I can pretty much tell within a 10% margin, within about a second, whether or not that video is going to be good. And that's just, something you learn over the course of years and years and years of watching an unbelievable amount of video content. And it's great. I mean, it helps me in my job as well. But as a filmmaker, I have a understanding of how to make films. I have a understanding of the technical side. I have an understanding of the whole creative process. I'm more of the frustrated filmmaker side since I don't make too many films. I do a lot of little video projects these days and some documentary work and things. But my main job is to watch and curate and help build features for the site, and that's where my creative output comes these days in a lot of different ways. I'm always happy to see things that we create that people use on a regular basis, and better their filmmaking careers. If I can help other people, that makes me feel good.
Yeah, and I think all the stuff that you guys do in-house is awesome. I mean, all the different personalities you got and the editing techniques that you guys use, and it was really interesting is watching you guys develop over the years,
right?
Watching your style, and I mean, some of the time I'm like, wow, that was really cool. I got to try that, or
yeah,
whatever technique, or that was awesome.
I mean, we didn't really have a strategy until several years ago. Most of it was just kind of these homemade videos, and Jacob Ludwig, who was one of our founders, he used to do a lot of very personal videos, talking to the members and everything. And the way that we can help show that we're a real company with real people. Our content and community team is almost exclusively hired out of the Vimeo community. So all of these people intrinsically understand Vimeo. They're part of Vimeo. We make Vimeo for ourselves just as much as we make it for everyone else. As a filmmaker, I'm making features that I want to use, that I do use. I have, over 300 videos on the site. Not sure how many of those are public, maybe like 250. So, we use the site. It's not like we're just making this for someone else. But yeah, I mean, our style of content's coming along. We have Vimeo Video School now, which we're starting to produce more original content. And it's great because we have our own little theories about how best to teach people how to make better videos. And that's through entertaining, fun videos that show a little bit of creative side, but also are hopefully informal or informative. And I mean, we talked a little bit about this before, but yeah, it's fun. I mean,
yeah. I think that you did.
And other people can learn. That's a win-win situation.
Yeah, I think you guys did an awesome job with the video of the music service. The over-the-shoulder shot with the guy doing, and all of a sudden the music starts, and then somebody comes up behind him with a knife, and yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
that was very creative.
It was great. My team is extremely creative. They're all great filmmakers and editors themselves. For the most part, and so it helps keep everyone's creative juices flowing a little bit too. And we don't like to do things in the same way that everyone else is doing. So even if our generally what can be very bland tutorials about like a feature, like how to use it, we started to make those a little bit more entertaining as well. And for our actual music store tutorial, not the promo video, there's a little bit of a narrative in there as well. And again, it just sort of keeps people's attention and can help elevate it to a point where it's not just like this dry, pretty boring information tutorial or whatever. But,
yeah, exactly. So the next question I had was Beyond the Still, which was, I don't know, like a year or so ago. I wanted to just kind of have you give me an update of what's happened to maybe some of the contest winners
Totally.
and what they, I think they got a camera out of it and they got to meet Vincent Laforet and
They did,
I
yeah.
mean, what are they doing now?
That contest was so wildly successful. It was amazing. We worked with Canon and Gray Advertising, who represents Canon, to really create something that we hoped would really empower our community in a way that hasn't really been done before. And so the Beyond the Still contest was it was based out of the idea of collaborative community filmmaking, which has always kind of been an underlying theme on Vimeo forever, is collaboration and working with people. But to bring in Vincent, who is well known in the DSLR community for his work, Reverie and Nocturne and everything that kind of started everything, as a sort of pioneer, as a figure to help the contest, it was great. And then just to open it up to anyone to just like continue this story in any way they wanted, just using still photographs as the beginning and end of your chapter. It was really a novel idea, and it worked so incredibly well. We had such an amazing response. We had, close to 300 entries over the 7 chapters, or 6 chapters, I guess. The first chapter had 100 entries, I think. And yeah, it was amazing. And so I was on set for the first film, which was The Cabbie, and then I was on set for the chapter 8, which sort of brought it all together. And while we were there on chapter 8, we got to meet all the winners, one of whom I actually went to college with and didn't
really?
until the end. He was a couple classes above me, and I actually totally knew him. His name is Keegan, and there were, all those guys who won were incredibly talented in their own right, and we got to meet them. We interviewed them all. I did a behind-the-scenes documentary about that, with interviews with all of those guys, which I recommend checking out. And it really did actually help these guys tremendously. They got a lot of exposure. They got work out of it. They got to meet Vincent, obviously, and work on this crazy set, which Chapter 8's production was pretty big. They were using all sorts of crazy, accessories and techno cranes and all this stuff, which, a lot of these guys are commercial directors. They've obviously been on sets before, but I think that was kind of one of the larger, at least narrative experiences that they've ever had. And it was collaborative. They all pitched in on the script. They pitched in on the directing. They pitched in on the, production design and all sorts of stuff. It was a really amazing thing, and I really give kudos to Canon for taking that leap to do this. And we had a great time, and hopefully we'll be able to do something like that again in the future.
So I'm kind of curious on the Canon side, who do you interface? Is it was it Tim Smith or somebody of that, or is it somebody actually?
A bunch of people.
Okay.
Most of the stuff it's dealing with Gray, their agency,
Oh, okay.
for the creative and things. But everyone's involved, and it's important just to make sure that everyone's priorities are all being accounted for. And Canon was extremely open to allowing this contest to go forward, which I again really really commend them for. And we had a great time. We helped collaborate in the creation of it and make sure that it would be something that people would respond to well on Vimeo. And we got a great response. And people have been clamoring for a Beyond the Still too, which who knows? Maybe we'll be able to give them in the future. We'll see.
So I'm kind of a techie guy, and I run a bunch of websites, and I'm
Totally.
always interested about the techie type part of it.
Yeah.
In terms of bandwidth, I mean,
Yeah.
you guys must just pull insane bandwidth. And I know you're owned by a large company. I think a lot of the websites are in that particular building you're in.
Yeah. Correct.
And I'm guessing you share resources and stuff like that. Or do you guys use like Amazon as a provider of your?
We use Amazon. We also use Akamai, and these are huge. Yeah, it's a huge amount of everything. Storage, bandwidth, serving. It's all just incomprehensible numbers, and we don't give out the actual numbers.
That's
but
okay. I was just kind of
the technical side of it is astounding, and from a traffic perspective in terms of bandwidth, we're one of the largest within IC, and a lot of the deals we make with these companies help other IC companies as well, because we can bring them in under the fold. But yeah, I mean, staggering. Like when I hear a number, I just like can't even comprehend it sometimes,
Yeah.
and it's constantly getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And as we grow, we'll be looking at other alternatives, possibly, creating our own origin CDN and stuff like that. But that's starting to get into big boys territory when you deal with that amount of traffic and
Oh,
volume.
I consider you guys a big. You
Other,
guys are a big boy. Your
yeah.
company is. It's. I consider it. You're right up there with everybody. I mean, you're the number.
Yeah,
To me, you're the number two. I mean, you got YouTube, and that's you guys. To me.
right. Yeah. And I mean, I think I would agree. I think in the media and certain other things, they still see Vimeo as like this niche site. But if you look at our numbers and our traffic, we are
Yeah.
anything but niche. I'd say we're like the 76th largest website in the country.
Oh wow.
So that's pretty big.
Yeah. You're one of the big boys.
Yeah, but it's fun. I mean, we're scaling at an appropriate rate, which I think is really the most important point. We didn't just all of a sudden blow up and we have a million users a day, a million new users a day. We have been scaling appropriately, and it's still sort of a hockey stick kind of thing, but it's not out of the question of being able to adapt and continue to make sure that the community is happy and everyone is having their questions answered. Customer support is a huge part of Vimeo. We've always been very personal about making sure people are getting their questions answered. And this whole video thing on the internet is not an easy thing. It's complicated,
Yeah.
and it's hard to we pay a lot of attention to supporting our customers and our user base as much as possible. So I think we're growing at a great route. I think we're starting to tip out over and expand a little bit larger, which is great. We're growing the company as well. We're hiring Vimeo.com/jobs, and it's great. It's really amazing to see this really small idea, and see it grow into such a larger idea and business, while still keeping all of the principles and the standards and things that we've wanted to make sure stay.
Yeah, and I think you guys have done a great job in terms of staying true to the core when you started, because I was pretty much there when you guys started, and
Yeah.
you've always kept it nice and clean and free of ads and
Yep.
all that
And
good stuff. And
continue to do that. It's nothing we're going to change. We really, we luckily we have a lot of freedom and leeway to go in the directions that we think are appropriate, because we have been successful in the past. And where other video sites have either folded or
yeah,
become
yeah.
like,
I've signed up for all the other ones too, and
see that.
yeah, I signed up for every single one, years ago. And actually, I logged into one just recently in the last few months, and I won't name names, but all of a sudden I saw that I didn't even know about. They had all of a sudden put ads on my videos, and they didn't ask about it. They'd
Right,
never sent me a check, never
right.
nothing. And all of a sudden I'm like, well, that's not cool,
Yep.
And I think you guys have always, the thing I like is, you don't seem to like you're even trying to compete against YouTube. You don't. It doesn't seem like you care, which I think is really cool. And you're just like, this is what we do, and this is about community, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, obviously people are always going to compare us to YouTube. That's always going to be the case. But the way I see it is we are similar looking sports, but we're playing with different balls. It's like a basketball and a soccer ball. They appear to be the same thing, but they're totally different when you really drill it down. And a lot of companies are going in a certain direction with advertising, and that's great. And we have advertising, and that's an important part of our revenue, but we also have subscriptions, so it allows us to go in a slightly different direction where we can focus more on the product and less about just doing things to make money off of advertising. We like to do advertising in creative, appropriate ways that make sense for our user base and that are contextual. We do these awesome flash overlays, which are creative and fun. And then we have sponsorship for our festival, and all sorts of stuff that really like bring in everyone into partnerships and not so much like sponsors. We like to do it in a slightly different way.
The next question I had for you was, I'll watch somebody will comment on my video, and I might go see what their channel is like, and occasionally, and it seems odd to me, but they'll have no videos. They're
Hmm.
just kind of an onlooker, I would say.
Right.
Do you have kind of stats of how many people on Vimeo are just onlookers and just there just to watch videos?
We do. Well, we have stats of people who are registered and who don't upload, but a lot of those people's videos are private.
Oh, okay.
You'd be surprised that sometimes a lot of these people just have like hundreds of private videos,
Oh, okay.
and it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, on the outside, you're like, oh wait, this guy doesn't have any videos, but in reality, they could have like 200 private videos, and they're just sharing it with like their friends and family or something, which a lot of people do. Some people really care about privacy, some people don't care at all, and Vimeo kind of has a lot of those tools for everyone. But yeah, I mean, I think also a lot of people join so they can comment because they're just so compelled to comment that they have to join in order to. And then once they do that, they realize, oh, like look at these videos, look at this thing, or look at video school, and maybe I could actually do this myself. And that's hopefully the way that we can get people into making videos when they never have, or take that extra step and maybe try a new editing technique, or watch some of your videos and learn all about DSLR stuff. It's or anything else. I mean, there's so many different ways into this process, and we're trying to provide as many as possible. Video school is one of them. Music store is kind of, there's all these ways that weekend projects that we have. We're just trying to inspire people and empower them through our tools. And if we can do that in any way, it's great. But it also has a lot to do with people like yourself, who are providing this amazing resource for people to learn. And I think that's just that's like 100% what we love about Vimeo and about this online creative community, is this dissemination of information and knowledge, which is really just compounding all this creativity in so many different directions. The creative output now, by just single people or small teams, is just astounding, and we are constantly blown away by it all the time. And it's just this amazing feedback loop of creativity that we just haven't seen before, I think, in our history. Given the fact that we've the internet to share it to everyone instantly, and these cheap tools that we can use and literally make these gorgeous things for comparatively not a lot of money, and then just the access, just everyone has access to view all of this stuff all the time, and it's great. People are experimenting, and we just love everything that's going on. It's awesome.
So the last question I have for you is, have you seen anything, since you are a filmmaker, and I was always curious to ask other people what movies they've seen recently that they really liked. Do you have any?
Yeah, for me, like, I'm not like a critical like movie buff. I love everything. Like, I rarely see movies where I'm like, oh, was like really well. That's not true. I see bad movies, but I like, I'm a big like action guy. Like, I saw Hannah. That was probably the
Okay.
best film that I've seen maybe this summer. That was just like a really good action film. But I spend most of my time watching.
I can imagine.
Oftentimes, the best stuff you'll see on the HD channel, that's stuff we come across and we just really love. I have definitely not favorite directors, but directors I'm keeping my eye on. A lot of the stuff coming out of some music video directors and some short film directors that I've been checking out. Canada is one of them. These guys are making just such incredible music videos. It's unbelievable. They're a team out of Barcelona. And several others. Saman Keshavarz. I forget how to pronounce his last name, but he's a friend as well that I've met through Vimeo. He did a bunch of great videos, but the famous one that sort of put him on the map was the Cinnamon Chasers Love Deluxe video, which was, I think, a finalist in our music video, or at least a short list in our music video category. But it's just an amazing first-person 5D story that's told really, really well, and it's upbeat and awesome, and it's literally like a 5D helmet cam kind of style. And it's awesome, and people are just really trying out new things, and we're constantly trying to show everyone what these people are doing, so they can potentially take some of these ideas and expand them into something else. And I'm just really excited to see where it goes in the future. We're going to continue to celebrate it. We've got the Vimeo Festival and Awards, which we're going to announce soon. I'll give you guys a sneak peek. We're going to announce it in about a month and a half. and it should be sometime in the spring. So again, we're just going to celebrate all this stuff that's going on the whole internet, not just on Vimeo. And yeah, it should be fun. Hopefully, Dave, you'll come out for it.
Yeah, I should definitely come out one of the. I usually kind of go to Vegas, and I never go to to New York for shows, but Vegas
Well,
is a
a
quick
lot
flight.
of people are going to be there, so you should definitely come out. It'll be worth it.
Well, thank you very much. I would ask the question, where can people find you? But I'm guessing it's mostly within the community of Vimeo. But do you have a
Yeah,
personal website or?
I have a blog, a Tumblr blog, which is blakewhitman.tumblr.com. But yeah, most of my stuff is just on Vimeo, and you can feel free to email me, Blake@Vimeo. I promise I'll respond at some point. Might not be within a few days because I do get lots of emails, but I'll definitely happy to talk.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.